The 2026 World Cup was supposed to belong to the United States. That was always the vision. More matches than any country in World Cup history. The semifinals, the final. The biggest stadiums, the biggest television market, and the biggest commercial opportunity football has ever seen. But as the tournament approaches, something unexpected is happening. Canada and Mexico are quietly becoming the emotional center of the World Cup. The opening match isn't in America. The loudest atmosphere may not be in America. Some of the most anticipated fan experiences aren't in America. And suddenly, a tournament designed to showcase American football culture is becoming a celebration of everyone else's. The United States still owns most of the schedule, but Canada and Mexico may be winning something far more important. The story, at least, that was the plan. When FIFA awarded the 2026 World Cup to North America, the balance seemed obvious. The United States would be the dominant host. Most of the matches would take place on American soil. Most of the revenue would be generated there. Most of the attention would be directed there. And the final itself would be played in the United States. On paper, it looked less like a shared tournament and more like an American tournament with supporting roles for Canada and Mexico. The logic made sense. America had the largest stadiums, the largest economy, and the largest commercial market. FIFA believed scale would define the event, but football has always had a habit of ignoring logic. The sport rarely follows business plans, it follows emotion, and emotion cannot be assigned through a hosting agreement. And then FIFA made one decision that changed everything. Every World Cup begins with a single image, a stadium, a crowd, an anthem, a moment that introduces the tournament to the world. In 2026, that moment belongs to Mexico, not Los Angeles, not New York, not Dallas. Mexico City. The Estadio Azteca is more than a football stadium, it is football history itself. Pelé lifted the World Cup there, Maradona created some of the sport's most famous moments there. Entire generations of football supporters recognized the stadium before they recognized the city around it. When the opening ceremony begins, nearly 90,000 fans will create an atmosphere that cannot be manufactured by marketing campaigns. It will be loud, emotional, and unmistakably football. For billions watching around the world, their first memory of World Cup 2026 will not be America, it will be Mexico. But what happened next surprised even FIFA. While Mexico brings history, Canada brings something equally powerful: discovery. For the first time, a men's World Cup match will be played in Canada. Entire generations have waited for this moment. Unlike established football powers, Canada enters the tournament carrying a sense of excitement that feels fresh and authentic. Toronto will not simply host matches, it will experience a football celebration unlike anything in its history. The city's diversity creates a unique advantage. Fans from dozens of nations already call Toronto home. Every group stage match becomes personal. Every visiting nation arrives with supporters already waiting. The result is an atmosphere that feels global from the moment the tournament begins. Canada is not carrying the burden of expectations, it is carrying the energy of opportunity. And sometimes that creates the most memorable moments of all. But then something unexpected started appearing. The conversation shifted. Instead of discussing how many matches America would host, people began discussing where they wanted to go. International fans compared experiences. They compared travel requirements, they compared prices, they compared atmosphere. Suddenly, Canada and Mexico started looking attractive for reasons that had nothing to do with football. Simpler travel, different costs, distinct cultural experiences. Supporters planning once-in-a-lifetime trips began imagining themselves in Mexico City's football cathedrals or Toronto's international fan zones. The World Cup stopped being a schedule, it became a destination choice, and every fan choosing Toronto or Mexico City represented a small shift in the narrative surrounding the tournament. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is that all three hosts are selling completely different versions of the World Cup. Most tournaments have a single identity. Russia, 2018, had one atmosphere. Qatar 2022 had one atmosphere. But 2026 may feel like three different World Cups happening simultaneously. Mexico offers football tradition. Canada offers diversity and discovery. The United States offers scale and spectacle. Each host nation is trying to attract supporters in a different way. Mexico does not need to convince fans that football matters. The sport is already woven into everyday life. The streets, the conversations, the rivalries and the history all create an environment that feels naturally connected to the World Cup. Canada presents a different appeal. It is a nation experiencing a football breakthrough at exactly the right moment. The excitement is new, genuine, and growing rapidly. Then there is the United States. America offers something neither Canada nor Mexico can match: massive venues, global entertainment infrastructure, unmatched commercial power. The challenge is that football fans are not always looking for the biggest experience. Sometimes they are looking for the most authentic ones. And as supporters begin choosing where they want to spend their time during the tournament, those differences are becoming increasingly important. And then the narrative started taking on a life of its own. FIFA designed the tournament around numbers: more teams, more matches, more cities, more revenue. By almost every measurable category, the United States became the center of the tournament. Yet, football has always operated according to a different set of rules. The stories that define World Cups are rarely planned. Nobody planned for Maradona in 1986. Nobody planned for South Korea's run in 2002. Nobody planned for Morocco reaching the semifinals in 2022. The moments that survive are the moments that capture emotion. That is why Canada and Mexico have become such important parts of the conversation. They represent stories that fans immediately understand. Mexico is football heritage. Canada is football's future. Those narratives are powerful because they feel human. They create emotional investment before the first ball is even kicked. Meanwhile, the United States faces the difficult task of living up to expectations that may have become unrealistically high. Hosting the majority of matches means carrying the majority of scrutiny. Every attendance figure, every atmosphere comparison, and every ticket sales discussion becomes part of a broader debate about whether America truly became the heart of the tournament. Fair or unfair, that comparison is already happening. And once a narrative takes hold in football, changing it becomes incredibly difficult. And this changed everything. Football's greatest asset has never been infrastructure. It has always been atmosphere. The reason people remember World Cups is not because of stadium capacity or sponsorship, revenue. They remember noise, emotion, passion, the roar after a goal, the tears after elimination, the feeling that an entire nation is living every second of a match together. Mexico already possesses that football culture. Canada is discovering it at exactly the right moment. The United States faces a more complicated challenge. American sports culture is enormous, but football still competes for attention with multiple major leagues and entertainment industries. That doesn't mean the United States cannot create unforgettable atmospheres. It absolutely can, but it means those atmospheres cannot be taken for granted. They must be earned. And as kickoff approaches, questions about atmosphere are becoming one of the most important storylines of the tournament, and that may become the defining story of 2026. The United States still hosts most of the tournament, it still hosts the semifinals, it still hosts the final, none of that changes. But football has never cared much about who owns the most matches. Football cares about moments. Mexico may own the opening moment. Canada may own the most emotional moment. And together, they may shape how the world remembers this tournament. Years from now, fans will not remember spreadsheets, hosting agreements, or match allocations. They will remember feelings. They will remember where the atmosphere felt strongest. They will remember which cities felt alive. They will remember where football truly lived. The United States may still deliver an extraordinary World Cup. It has every opportunity to do so. But as the countdown continues, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This is no longer just America's tournament, it belongs to all three nations. And right now, Canada and Mexico are making sure the world never forgets it.